I lived and promoted a raw food lifestyle for nearly 8 years here on YouTube, and all of my videos were about raw food and how amazing it was. So what happened? Did I fall off the bandwagon, or did I start binging on junk food? Or am I now an ex-vegan like so many of the other raw foodies who were eating a restrictive diet? The truth is, I love eating raw food. So if you came here hoping that I'd be making a video denouncing the raw food diet or saying that it's an eating disorder or that it's the reason I failed, you've definitely come to the wrong place, because eating raw gave me all the benefits that I ever wanted for my health. It gave me clear skin and perfect digestion and energy levels that have not been the same ever since I left the raw food lifestyle. And honestly, I never thought that I'd be here making this video. And I definitely changed my raw diet over the years. I started eating high-fat raw and then went to an extremely low-fat version of the raw food diet, and then kind of balanced out somewhere in the middle. And every single time I made the switch, I felt better than I had before. So the thing that changed for me, the real catalyst in switching from living a raw food lifestyle for so long to now eating cooked foods, was my move to Scandinavia. I like to fly by the seat of my pants, so a few years ago, I decided to move to Scandinavia on a whim to be with my partner. I left Canada with only a couple weeks notice, so I didn't really do a lot of research or prepare before coming here. And I arrived in Scandinavia with 2 backpacks, one on my back and my front, a suitcase, and my dog, and I really had no plan, and I had no idea what to expect with the food. To be honest, I kind of expected it to be the same as Canada, and I was in for a really big surprise. I realized pretty quickly when I started shopping at the grocery store in Scandinavia that the food was nothing like what I had access to in Canada. A lot of people seem to think over my years of doing 40 Below Fruity and then raw food living, when I shared my lifestyle eating fruit in a cold climate in Canada, a lot of people thought that it must have been really challenging, but the truth is, eating raw in Canada is extremely easy. Now, having moved to Scandinavia, I know that some of the best fruit I have ever had comes from British Columbia or California or Mexico, and I had access to all of that while I lived in Canada. And while I lived there, I had no idea how spoiled I was with raw foods. On the contrary, eating raw in Scandinavia is more challenging than I could have ever known. First off, the variety in the grocery store rarely changes from season to season. You might see the introduction of maybe 1 or 2 fruits in the summertime that you wouldn't see in the winter, but the variety, the huge amounts of fruits that I had access to in Canada just simply aren't available here. And the whole health craze that is really popular in North America has not made it over to Denmark yet. So while there's an abundance of things like potatoes and root vegetables and grains, there's really not a whole lot of quality fruit. And even though I knew it was going to be a huge challenge, I still tried so hard to eat raw during my first 2 years in Scandinavia. But I faced one major hurdle, and that's that I didn't have transportation. So I had no way to get to the grocery store other than cycling or walking. Luckily, I did have a fruit market nearby where I could cycle to and get a few things to bring back home, and there was a decent amount of variety, but it wasn't enough to sustain a whole raw foods lifestyle. I was also living in a tiny home sharing a mini-sized refrigerator with my partner and my dog, and we had very little storage for extra food because the place we lived in was only 300 square feet. And even though I tried my best in that first 2 years, I constantly struggled. I would not have enough food to eat or not have enough variety, and the quality of fruit that I was eating was so low that I wouldn't feel satisfied. I would end up eating a bit of cooked food, have a reaction from it, and feel just like I was failing on the lifestyle that I had promoted for so long, and a lifestyle that I had made it seem to so many other people that it was easy and could be done pretty much anywhere. I felt like I had to keep up this perfect image of the raw foodie who never fails and can kind of go through any kind of adversity, and I wasn't living up to that. And I didn't know how to share that with the world. I didn't know how it was going to affect my YouTube channel, and I had wrapped up so much of myself in the identity of being a raw foodist that I didn't know what to do anymore when I was faced with the reality that I probably wasn't going to be able to eat 100% raw anymore. I think the biggest challenge that I grappled with was the fact that I never related to any of the people who claimed they had no reaction whatsoever when they switched from eating a raw food diet to something else. Because my reality is that when I started to introduce cooked foods into my diet, I had a ton of reactions. All of a sudden, I was getting a ton of bloating and water retention. My acne and keratosis pilaris on my arms flared up full force, and it was like I had never eaten a raw foods diet to begin with. It was a big adjustment for me, not only for my body, but also for my mind, because a big part of me really didn't want to eat cooked foods. And it's not because I thought that cooked foods were poisonous or that they were terrible for me, but it was because I clearly did not feel as good eating cooked versus eating raw. The feeling of waking up and having unlimited energy when I could just jump out of the bed, clear skin, perfect digestion, all that kind of faded away, and everything I was experiencing while eating cooked food was a more muted version of the benefits I had eating a raw food diet. But ultimately, I knew it was the best thing for me to do because the stress and the pressure I was feeling from trying to maintain something that simply wasn't possible because a lack of fruit quality and fruit variety was causing me a lot of issues. And I knew I had to let go of any dogma I had or any kind of thoughts of being pure and embrace eating more cooked foods if I wanted to have some hope of feeling balanced in my life. So here I am a year later. I eat a variety of cooked foods and raw foods. I still start every day with a smoothie because nothing makes me feel more hydrated than having fruit in the morning, and that is my main fruit meal. Other than that, I eat a wide variety of cooked foods, things like vegetables and grains and legumes, and sometimes some vegan treat meals as well. And yes, my body has changed, but I think that's to be expected when you make a drastic change in your diet. On top of that, not long after I was transitioning to eating cooked foods, I went through a really challenging period of time. For about 6 months, I needed to have several anesthesia shots, and I had an allergic reaction to the anesthesia right from the get-go, and it caused so much pain and inflammation and swelling in my body, made me gain almost 40 pounds, and that's something I've been grappling with ever since, and I have made a really big change in my lifestyle to exercising every day, which has helped me so much. Exercise has actually been one of the key factors in regulating everything in my body, my digestion, my skin, my energy levels, and I would say that exercise has probably played a bigger role than anything else during my transition to eating cooked food. Most importantly, I feel a lot more balanced in my lifestyle now. And that's not to say that you can't live a healthy, balanced lifestyle when you're eating raw foods, because obviously when I was eating a wide variety of different raw foods, I felt pretty balanced and healthy. But the difference now is that I'm no longer yo-yoing between cooked and raw and feeling that guilt and shame that's associated with it. And my body is also responding a lot better just to having some consistency with my diet. I've also found another reason to include cooked foods in my diet. I have fallen in love with long distance backpacking. We don't have a lot of nature and wilderness here in Denmark, so to kind of get my fix, I have started doing long hiking trips, anywhere from 100 to 200 kilometers. And the reality is when you're on the trail, you need to pack a lot of food into very small, tight, compact, calorie-dense packages. And I have found for me personally, it's just not possible to eat raw while I'm on the trail. And right now, I'm actually training for my first thru hike. I'm hoping to do the Great Divide Trail in Canada, and if I succeed with that plan, I'm gonna be hiking for 1,000 kilometers in the absolute wilderness, and at any given time, I'm gonna have to carry between 5 to 10 days worth of food in my pack, on my back, while hiking anywhere from 20 to 30 kilometers a day. And with long distance hiking and the lifestyle that I want to live now, my priorities have completely changed. Because I've introduced cooked foods into my diet, it's actually opened up this whole horizon, this whole world of experiences that I couldn't have while eating raw foods. I've also fallen in love with sharing food with my partner. It's something that I thought was really overrated before when I was eating a raw food diet because my meals are pretty solitary. I mean, my partner did not want to have a big salad for dinner, which I totally understand. So we would eat different foods. But now that we've started sharing foods together, it's such a great bonding experience that really surprised me. I really wasn't expecting that. So do I sometimes wish that I could still eat a raw food diet? Yeah, absolutely, without a doubt. And we've actually started growing our own fruit trees on our property to create our own food forest because I love having homegrown fruits and vegetables. And absolutely nothing compares to fresh fruit picked from the tree. So we now have several plum trees, apple, pear, cherry. We just got 2 fig trees, blueberry bushes. We're really trying to grow a lot of our own food so I can still enjoy high quality fruit here in Denmark without having to worry about what's in the store. In the end, there's a lot of freedom that comes from eating cooked food. I can be a lot more flexible with my diet. I enjoy sharing food with my partner and his family. I can go on camping trips. I can go on campaign with Sea Shepherd. There are so many things that I no longer have to stress or worry about, and that's something I really appreciate from eating cooked foods. You'll probably have noticed that since my identity is no longer rooted in a raw food diet, I have started to expand my type of videos that I put out on this channel. A lot of them still include food, but it also includes outdoor adventure and mental health and just things that interest me and things that relate to my life. So that's the new direction that my channel is taking. It's called Living Free, which to me means being true to myself, living free and unencumbered. And that's the type of videos that I'm putting out nowadays. I hope you'll stick with me on this journey, even though I'm posting more varied content now. And if you have any questions about my raw food journey, because even though I have tried to be as thorough as possible in this video, I am sure there are some questions that will come up. Just post them down in the comments below and maybe I'll do a follow-up video to this or a Q&A about my experience. Thank you so much for watching, and if you want to support my channel or the work I do here, you can check out my Patreon. The link is in the description below, and I'm going to be sharing all sorts of new content on there that is just for my patrons. Otherwise, you can give this video a thumbs up or subscribe to my channel, and let me know if there are any new videos that you'd like to see from Living Free, and I will see you next time.